Say, Jaya can't budget. I mean, here, I'm some Professor Godfred Alufa Bokpeng is an economist, is a professor of finance and senior lecturer, University of Ghana Business School. Prof, good morning.
Hello, good morning. And good morning to your cherished listeners.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Prof, so let's say for those of us who don't really understand your area of expertise, that is finance, economics, economic planning, and what have you. From your point of view, what do you make of the budget?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you look at the 2023 budget, it's heavy on what we call austerity on one hand, and also heavy on expansionary on another hand, but I'll try and explain this.
Sure.
This country has gone through a number of crises. So 2012 to 2015, energy crisis. Then we walked into financial sector crisis. Then we walked into COVID-19, a pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Then Russia, Ukraine. Now, all these crises have left some impact on our economy. And in our attempt to resolve it, we accumulate debt. So our public debt has been rising. That comes along with certain challenges. Now, because the real sector of the economy really hasn't expanded the way it should, particularly the non-oil real sector, you will see that whilst government expenditure has been rising, sometimes to contain the crisis and all of that, the revenue side has not responded in that same way. For instance, between 2013 and 2020, the size of our economy, measured that by GDP, nearly 20% of that came from mining.
I see.
Now, if you put the extractive sector alone together, whilst the majority of the growth came from that side, employment generation from that side actually fell.
Oh.
So Ghana has been celebrating some kind of economic growth or GDP that does not come along with job creation. Now, if you look at the extractive sector, the fiscal regime that we are implementing in the extractive sector does not benefit Ghana optimally. It does not.
I see.
If you look at how much Ghana gets from the extractive sector annually as a percentage of the extractive sector value addition to our GDP, it's just around 19%. Our middle income peers are getting close to 54%. So that tells you why our revenue will remain low.
I see.
Now, the results of that is that we have seen positive growth, but we have not seen sufficient growth.
Positive growth, but not sufficient growth.
Yes. But we have celebrated jobless growth. Now, when you see that, it means that the redistribution of wealth is weakened. That growth only benefit a tiny few at the top.
But then, Prof, how did we get here? Jobless growth?
Yes, it's because of the way we have structured our economy. We don't put some of the contract and the negotiations we give out in how we manage our natural endowment. This is what God has given us.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have to work for it.
Okay.
This country wake up one day with oil, gold, diamond, and all of that. Countries in Europe and elsewhere who had such natural endowment, they managed it optimally. And then, look, let me give you another example.
Sure.
From independence, our economy was largely reliant on agriculture. Now, service sector is what is leading. But the service sector that is leading now is actually not leading along quality job creation areas. So you have wholesale, retail, absorbing. So you have a lot of people who are getting maybe low-hanging jobs more in the service sector. A good number of them are even not on formal contract, not paying taxes, and the rest of them. Okay, let's fast forward.
Okay.
Now then, COVID came, and how we managed COVID manifested explicitly also in debt formation. And because COVID coincided with 2020 election, the fiscal slippages, the excess spending in 2020 could easily be blamed on COVID, whilst you actually have to blame it on the 2020 election. So the 2020 fiscal deficit, which was a pandemic year, compared to our neighbors, or the basis of comparison, you can look at it with respect to your regional peers like Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, Benin, Nigeria, in terms of how much, because the COVID did not only affect Ghana.
Yes.
If you look at the average for these countries, it was less than 8%. Ghana did in excess of 15%. Now, if you look at our debt build-up today, which the reality that you see now in the 2023 budget, we'll get there very soon. I'm just trying to build a certain background.
Mm-hmm.
The debt that you see today, two things have contributed to it strongly. The fiscal deficit, in other words, we spend in excess of how much we are able to generate. Actually, there is nothing wrong with recording fiscal deficit. What is wrong about it is about the size,
Okay.
the consistency, and the financing mechanism, and the source of the deficit. If a country generates deficit that is traceable to the real sector of the economy, then it means that that deficit would enhance the cash flow generation capacity of the economy. Because the deficit is an indication of the borrowing requirement of the government. So we often say in economics, fiscal unsustainability is intricately linked to debt unsustainability. If you fail to manage your fiscal side very well, it is explained through borrowing. So even the government says they will not borrow, you don't need to take that. Just look at it whether they are running a budget deficit, because that budget deficit will be explained through borrowing.
I see.
Now, because we have not been able to transform this Gordgisberg inherited economy from 1957. What is that Gordgisberg inherited economy? It was an economy that was predicated on producing raw materials with practically no value addition, and just export that to feed growing industries in Europe or in the global north. After so many decades of independence, we have not been able to transform this. So as we speak, more than 80% of Ghana's export earnings, right, come from primary commodities with practically no value addition. Gold, oil, cocoa. The world thrives on margins. So if you are not adding value, you cannot elicit margins.
But Prof, don't we know this?
We knew this before we even gained independence.
So how come we are still where we are?
And that is why we are going through these challenges. You know, we talk, but we're unable to walk our talk. We have good intentions, and we're unable to translate those good intentions into accomplishments in a demonstrable, measurable manner.
But from what you're saying, Prof, we earn more than we spend more than we earn. So would we ever get out of this?
As a country, we have to decide. Because as you can see, over the years, and when you look at the data, you will see that 1965, when Dr. Kwame Nkrumah first made an application to the IMF for a fund-supported program, the reasons he listed are not different from the reasons that have taken us to the IMF for our 17th IMF-supported program pending.
So we've been at the same place since independence?
It's the same thing.
Isn't that scary?
The same. Balloon public debt. Call that one debt unsustainability. Exchange rate losses. Inflation. Inflation in 1964 was 0.98%, less than 1%.
I see.
By the end of 1965, you know what? Inflation had gone up to 26.4%.
Wow.
As we speak today, officially, inflation is more than 40%. But unofficially, it could be more than that. Okay? Now, in an environment where you have weak fiscal regime, when we say weak fiscal regime, can talk about high expenditure or expenditure rigidity, low revenue mobilization, which is then explained through borrowing. So we say in economics, weak fiscal regime together with elevated public debt makes it difficult for central banks to contain inflation under inflation targeting framework. And that is why you see Bank of Ghana struggling to contain inflation. Okay, from the beginning of this year, Bank of Ghana has increased the policy rate by more than 1,000 basis points. And yet inflation is rising. Okay, and inflation is broadening. In fact, it has actually broadened across food and non-food inflation. What that means is that inflationary pressures are becoming entrenched, therefore undermining the credibility built around Bank of Ghana's short-term price stability objective. I'll give you an example. When you go to Bank of Ghana website, their medium-term inflation target is 8% with a symmetrical rate of 2%. Symmetrical means that plus or minus 2%.
Okay.
But what is inflation today?
42 or thereabouts.
Okay. What does that mean to the market in terms of the credibility Bank of Ghana has in the market? So that when Bank of Ghana says X, people won't take it to mean X bar. This is what we are talking about. Okay. And then the issue is that under inflation targeting, one key requirement for that to be effective in bringing down inflation and engineer growth because of the trade-off that has to be managed, you need fiscal discipline, which comes from the politicians. So what we have done, in fact, under this current inflation framework, which unofficially started from March 2002 and officially 2007, is that we use monetary policy as a broom to sweep the mess that is created by the fiscal side. A good example of that is to see where Bank of Ghana Act says that deficit monetizing, in other words, financing the budget deficit by the central bank, essentially lending to Ghana government. In other words, it's nothing but the same thing as saying that printing money, because Bank of Ghana doesn't take deposits in order to lend. The law capped it at 5%. The Bank of Ghana now is doing more than that. The reason is that the government, the country has been priced out of the Eurobond market. Now, in the medium to the long-term market, in the domestic market, where the government has been priced out. So the government is doing heavily short-term borrowing, treasury bill based, with rollover risk. So when it happens that way, Bank of Ghana, against all that they know and they can do and they have to do, would have to manage a critical trade-off of either allowing the government to collapse or they have to put the government on its balance sheet by financing the deficit.
So we are hanging on a thread at this point.
Yes.
Now, you mentioned COVID, you mentioned Russia, Ukraine, you mentioned the Gettysburg economy, and how we've gotten here. We are spending more than we earn, the level of mismanagement as well.
Yeah.
And as we sit today, there's a new budget for 2023. There are new taxes and everything else in between. From your professional point of view, would this help in any way, the new budget?
So this is how I look at it. It is necessary if we want to come out of this mess, but it's actually not adequate.
Then it means it's going to get worse.
Yes, in fact, we are looking at it in the next 3 to 4 years. But you can shorten it depending on the measures we take now. That's how we do projections.
But Prof, if you say it is necessary but not adequate, can you explain a bit to those of us who are the uninitiated?
Yes. So we expect fiscal consolidation, in other words, revenue enhancement, expenditure restraint or rationalization. All right. So since 2020, in fact, 2023 budget is the first level appreciation of the reality on the ground. In other words, we looking at it from afar, sitting out somewhere, we are looking at it that government is now waking up to the reality on the ground and the mess that has been created that needed to be dealt with. So you see the 2023 budget, unlike the 2022 and before, now mirroring a certain reality. Now, the reason we are a bit sad is that this should have been done long ago. In fact, towards the end of 2021, the signs were clear because in the third quarter, the Ministry of Finance was in the market trying to borrow, but the market actually rejected them.
Why?
Because the numbers, yes, because the fundamentals were deteriorating. So that was the clearest warning to government that things were getting out of hand. But like we played it down. And now, so when the 2022 budget failed to mirror that reality, the market then punished us. And that's why we said that the 2022 budget did not give greater assurance to investors in terms of a fiscal sustainability path. When it happens that way, they exit. The market reads. It's just like this song, like God knows what will happen in the future and He does it today, right? The market plays an important role of price discovery. Okay, let me give you an example. Hello.
Yes, I'm here.
You know, we've been talking about debt restructuring, the possibility of haircuts.
Yes.
And then government has been denying this all this while. Now, the market knows what will happen. And they've started pricing that in today's instrument. So if you went to your bank or non-bank financial institution today to go and withdraw your money, okay, they are already pricing that haircut into it.
I see.
And they are discounting it. They can call it mark to market, but the baseline interpretation is realized investor losses, and that is nothing but a haircut on the investor. Okay. So now let's come to home. We have to come out of this. And to come out of this, it will require some painful fiscal adjustments.
Fiscal adjustments.
Yeah. The first level is what we have seen in the 2023 budget. Yet with that, if you look at the totality of it, the revenue measures and the expenditure measures, as we say, is not adequate.
Because we're still going to spend more than we earn.
Yes. And the level of fiscal adjustment we need to do in order to take us of this, we have not. So the 2023 budget does not measure up to that level. Okay, so this is what I'm saying. Baseline, if your debt is unsustainable and you want to crawl back to a sustainable level from where we are now, some of the things I'll say are a bit technical, but I'll try and be moderate. So there are certain indicators that we use to judge whether your debt is unsustainable. Baseline and a more conservative measure is what we call debt to GDP ratio. It doesn't tell everything, but it's baseline. Great. We are trending around 30% in excess of the policy dependency threshold at the baseline estimation. What we are saying is that if your debt carrying capacity, right, is supposed to be less, is just to be at 70% of GDP, and you are doing in excess of 80% or 100%, means that you are above that policy dependency threshold. Is that okay? Then you have to go, that's not the only indicator. There are other indicators like debt service to revenue ratio. So those indicators, they are broken down into two: solvency, liquidity. Liquidity measures the immediate, short term. And then the solvency looks at the medium to the long term, many years to come and all of that. So they do it over a certain horizon. Okay, great. Now, because we are trending, for almost all of them, we are trending above the policy dependency threshold, especially when it comes to the liquidity ratios. It's very harsh where we are, and the disparity between where we are and where the policy dependency threshold is, where we must operate below, is very wide. Now, to close that will mean a certain painful fiscal adjustment. Now, if we resolve all of this through fiscal adjustment alone, this country will collapse. We can't bear it. We can't bear it. And
so it means, Prof, we are trending for the wrong reasons.
Yes.
And
that is why.
Please finish.
And that is why we quickly came to the conclusion that where we are, fiscal adjustment alone, in other words, trying to solve this crisis through revenue and expenditure management alone will not be enough.
So the new taxes will not be enough.
Yes, and therefore a debt treatment or debt operation, call it debt exchange, call it whatever you want to call it, baseline restructuring with possible haircuts, almost a given, would have to be done. Now, the way you judge that is that to crawl back to where you are, your primary balance on positive basis should not be less than 8%. Now, if you check the 2023 budget, government primary balance at positive level is 0.7% of GDP. So 0.7% and where you are supposed to be, that gap means that has to be closed through other measures, which would include debt operation, debt restructuring, or something.
Prof, in the budget, there are more than 20 tax measures. You say it is still not enough?
Yes. If you look at the end game, if you look at the end game, to the investor, to outsiders, they don't care. What they care is your ability to pay down on your debt.
Bottom line.
Bottom line. That's what. So there are multiple stakeholders in this economy. To some people, they want roads. To some people, they want food, quality, cheap. To some people, they want this. To some people, higher salaries. So there are multiple stakeholders with conflicting interests. To the investor who has lent to Ghana, they are not interested in roads.
They want their money back.
Yes. How you can pay down on your debt. That's what they want.
And these more than 20 tax measures will still not do the magic?
It will not. Because even with that one, we are focusing on the wrong areas. We are of the view, and I think we are justified to some extent, but of course, we could be wrong. We are of the view that the inefficiencies in the tax administration, if we could close that alone, could generate more revenue rather than increasing existing tax rates or introducing new taxes. And this is where we get it wrong as a country.
Prof, yes, please finish.
If you look at exemptions and how we abuse it, I just told you that we are not getting enough optimally from the extractive sector.
Yes.
And all of that. So what we have done is that where we need to focus and improve efficiency with greater administrative reform and collect more revenue, we don't do that and rather burden the faithful few.
I like that, faithful few. Prof, I was going to ask that the Bank of Ghana says depreciation of the cedi to the dollar is about 54%.
It's more than that.
Good. That's where I was coming
it's
to.
Part of the problem.
What figures do you have?
We are doing something in excess of 60%.
We are doing in excess of 60%.
Yes, you know, these are the things that we do that gives oxygen to the black market. When the central bank keeps an artificial rate, again deriving that from the interbank rate, which is artificially low and doesn't reflect the dynamics out there, then what the market will say is that you have the rate, but the black market has the dollars. Okay? And therefore, where dollar is actually being exchanged, that rate is what we use, and not the politically motivated rate or artificial rate at the central bank.
So the 54% is politically motivated?
Well, I could withdraw that, but it doesn't reflect the reality.
The reality on the ground.
Yes. And when you do it that way, that in itself provides oxygen to the black market to grow. And that's why it's been difficult to tame the black market, because even people, highly educated, even across very sensitive state institutions, are likely to withdraw their dollars from the formal financial system and head to the black market and go and change it.
You mentioned the extractive sector and the fact that we're not getting what exactly we should get from there. You also mentioned tax waivers and all of that. Is it that as a country we lack negotiation skills? What exactly is our problem when it comes to the extractive sector?
Oftentimes in these negotiations, we elevate personal interest above national interest. If you examine many of these contracts, Ghana, represented by officials, would have signed. Okay. And then the monitoring mechanism and the enforcement mechanism. We don't need to have all the knowledge here to have a good contract, because we operate in a global environment. You can look for help. And even within this country, I am sure, because some of us don't consider ourselves to be in the top 20% of people who know exactly what is going on. If we look within, we may find sufficient expertise. Look, do you know something? If you mean well and for the common good, you would attract in proportion to that.
Prof, you're a professor of finance and a senior lecturer at University of Ghana Business School. You're an economist as well. Are you consulted on things like this? Or people of your caliber, are you consulted on things like this, like the budget, like negotiations and all? Are you consulted?
Oh, I think that government will have their own way of getting input into the budget preparation. And I think that the base is very wide, so I don't need to be at the table or so. But
I'm not talking about you as a person. I'm talking about people of your caliber, academia, research, and all of that.
I think that government may be doing something, but whether it's at the broad-based level and then on consensus building is another thing I cannot tell totally. But what you see is that there's a little bit of gap between the knowledge economy, the technical side, and then the political economy, where the politicians are very strong. And I'll give you one example. Please forgive me if that doesn't sit well with you.
It doesn't matter at all. We are listening.
Yeah, and that is e-levy.
Yes.
E-levy provides one important case study of how government is at variance with the expert base in the economy. Various economists, even CSOs, private sector, have said all they could say about e-levy. But sometimes it's as though somebody then wants to do it to demonstrate where power lies. Okay. And what do we want to achieve out of that? E-levy, government should delete it. Government should delete it.
They should delete it completely.
You know,
It's been reduced to 1%. How about that?
So that is, when something is conceptually wrong,
Okay.
and it doesn't meet certain basic principles of taxation, people have issues with it, even if the rate is 0.1%. Okay. Now, but if you want to reduce it, and if you survey the market and various studies that have been done, you get a certain trend where people are converging around 0.5%. You get it?
Yeah.
And below. You can do a scan of the market, you will see that. And then you also see another convergence that people are reaching around the e-levy at capping it.
Okay.
Now, so if the government wants, and that is what you do to win confidence of the market. So when your policy announcement aligns with expectation of the market, they pick on it, and confidence is generated. Now, if you do the sensitivity analysis at 0.5%, even with the 100% exemption, chances are that you could rope in so many people, and with the volume expansion, you could actually offset the revenue losses you think you would accommodate by reducing it from 1.5% to 0.5%. And the other thing also is that taxation is not a hammer, where you treat everybody else in the market as a nail. Tax itself is an enabler. That is why Dubai and the rest build their countries actually by using tax-free measures, okay? And all of that. So you need to manage the trade-off, because you cannot tax your way out of poverty. It's never done anywhere.
You cannot tax your way out of poverty.
No, you cannot. Okay, so you need tax can be packaged as a form of investment. Dubai and the other, that's how they did it. It can also be packaged as dividend to be collected today. So it's about managing the trade-off. Okay, and then if you look at Ghana, and what is particularly concerning is that we are not an island. We are operating within the African continental free trade. So you are also looking at your tax measures and how that guarantees private sector competitiveness, so they will be able to compete within the African continental free trade. Since COVID came along, we've introduced a number of taxes. COVID levy, sanitation levy, and a whole of things. And then to make matters worse, government decided to treat Get Fund, NHS, and those as straight levies, meaning that even though businesses are paying, there is no option of recovery. What that does is to contribute directly to the high productive cost base of doing business. And because they decided to treat those ones as straight levies, that reduced our standard VAT rate to about 12.5%. Now, if you compare that to our neighbors within Africa, then you will get the impression that our VAT rate is one of the lowest. And what that tells you is that you could actually increase the VAT rate. But it's actually not true. Even though the standard VAT rate average for Africa is 16% and ours was 12.5%, if you add those straight levies, because to the consumer, the incidence of that tax on the consumer is actually more than the 12.5%, close to 19%. Now, studies have shown that when your standard VAT rate is at 18 or so, and you even increase it by 1 percentage point, it becomes counterproductive.
And that's where we are headed.
We are already there.
Prof, from the way you're going, it looks like we should brace ourselves for more hard times. Is that what it is?
That's what it means. You can get, somebody can tell you that, you know what, this, but, you know, the reality is there. And Ghana needs to take certain hard decisions. But I think we have to be truthful to ourselves at a certain point. Okay, and be driven by the data. So if what the data communicates is not comfortable to government or to whoever, that is what it is. Let's come to the table. Because we cannot pretend about this. And if you look at the horizon, Now we've been priced out of the Eurobond market.
Yeah.
If you look at the horizon, the next 3 to 4 years, and it may be longer than that because government also missed an important move, right? Do you know something?
Tell me.
The market is looking for certain things. It's not just salary cuts. It's not fuel allowance to ministers. No. Reduce the number of ministers. That's more effective. Merge some of the ministries. In the last 15 years, we've created so many parastate agencies and institutions who are almost doing the same thing. Some of them are actually not doing anything, but annually they are receiving budgetary allocation.
Yeah.
That is not growth-friendly spending. So we failed to do the critical thing. And therefore, if you say fuel, this, no travel, no V8, this, that doesn't move the market. I'm not interested in that. That's not a game changer. I want to see something similar to what Cote d'Ivoire did in April 2022.
What did they do?
Cote d'Ivoire then had 41 ministers, and they decided to reduce it to 32.
Pragmatic, right?
Our neighbors, Cote d'Ivoire.
So it means we need more pragmatic measures, not reduction in V8.
And drastic. A policy prescription that recognizes that you are living on the edge.
We should show to the world that we are in trouble.
Yes.
And you don't think that we are showing enough?
We are not.
And our budget as it stands today will not change anything?
It's an important first step, but it's not adequate.
Well,
And it failed to trigger the critical things. Look, if you say cut salaries of this, even with the difficulty of monitoring, fuel, this. Do you know something? The reality on it, these are not reforms. Ghana needs governance reforms. And that is why we are of the view that even if we secure a staff level agreement with the IMF this year, and the program eventually approved by the IMF Executive Board, that program will not be enough to address the challenges because we need something more than an economic program. We need to initiate immediately, like yesterday, certain governance reforms, right, to be pursued along the reforms that will come under the IMF program. Because reforms are more effective when they are bundled together and when they reinforce each other. Our democracy is too expensive. Split the budget. And that's why the government is struggling to cut. Which one to cut? It's too expensive. It leaves little for growth-enhancing spending. Our future only comes when we allocate appropriately to CAPEX with the necessary efficiency in our public investment management process.
Prof, when you listen to the budget as presented by the finance minister, some have said that some of the measures he has mentioned, like freezing on public sector employment, increasing VAT, and looking at other ways to raise revenue, probably are part of the IMF consideration. So he's going ahead to put some of these things in place so that we'll look good with the IMF. Do you get that same impression?
Where it is now, it's just like when you see fish in the water. Do you conclude whether the fish is drinking some of the water or not? So we've brought this upon ourselves. Sometimes some of the conditionalities we say is from the IMF. These are deferred actions that we should have taken over the years.
By ourselves.
So if you fail to do that and they have resulted in a certain situation and you go for a treatment in the hospital, they want to do it in such a way that with all these things will be solved within the shortest possible time that you are under the program.
And so do you get a sense that it could be part of the program?
I think that the strategy government would adopt to achieve fiscal consolidation has more to do with us. Remember, the IMF doesn't manage our economy for us.
No.
And that is why, if you check the IMF itself, is very strategic. They said we were told that they were supposed to come in before the budget will be presented, 15th, and therefore they had to postpone it. The fund will rather come after the budget has been presented. In other words, the fund is waiting to see how the government will use the 2023 budget to demonstrate its commitment, its appreciation of the problem, and how it will deal with it. Of course, the expectation was given that there's been a lot of negotiation in Washington and online and all of that. To the fund, the budget must demonstrate and mirror some of the broad-based fiscal framework issues that have been agreed. Yes, the fund will be interested in how you want money. It's a lending. You go to the bank, you want a loan. You have to demonstrate to the bank. Even if the bank tells you this is what you have to do and the rest of them, at the end you have to accept it. You have to own it.
Prof, before I wrap up, you mentioned earlier that there's no convergence between the knowledge economy and the political economy. And then you cited e-levy as one of the examples where if there was a certain marriage between the knowledge economy and the political economy, probably we would have done it better. Looking at where we are today, should we have hope?
I think when confidence is wounded and faith is pierced, and trust is impaired, as someone has said, we must keep hope alive. Let's be hopeful, but also let's hold our people to accountability, okay? And let's do it regardless of our political affiliations. We have one future, we have one country. Now, take this. When things are bad, it's not bad for everybody.
Yeah.
Some people may be making it out of the mess, and they have an interest in keeping the status quo as it is. But that may not benefit majority, okay? So we are looking at certain reforms that is inclusive. That because, look, well, if you, part of what we do is modeling and forecasting, right? So if you look at the way we are going, we are creating financially repressed society. Okay. And if we are not careful, that in itself may unsettle the stability that we have. I don't mean bad, right? But
I understand you, yes.
But let's be very careful. You can postpone marriage. You can disengage after engagement. You can delay childbirth. But how long can you postpone hunger? Right? So it's not easy for a lot of people. And we don't need to do that to ourselves.
Well. In fact, I need you here in the studio one day for another lecture. This has been quite insightful. But I like the way you've thrown it all out there, but you end up by saying, let's keep hope alive. We will. But trust me, when we are confused, we'll come back to you again for explanations. I appreciate your time. God bless you back, Prof. Thank you very much for your time.
Bye-bye.
Professor Godfred Alufa Bokpeng is an economist, Prof of Finance, Senior Lecturer, University of Ghana Business School. And then the Kofa Bro for life. Prof Nichino and Kui Intino, we are no Bayama, but you better not say, Swenya home and Anope. Daniel Kokrokoo Yeboah. Dan Kokrokoo Yeboah.
Ghana's joyful noise maker.
Yes, Kokrokoo.
Member of the Order of the Voter.
Yes, Kokrokoo.
Ghana's multiple award-winning.
Yes, Kokrokoo.
Presidential.
Yes, sir.
Hall of Fame.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Kokrokoo.
Ghana's man radio presenter.
Yeah, man.
Peace FM's anomaly.
Yes, sir.
So job picture.
I like him. Yeah, man.
And Ghana's Olympic third bearer. Come in the back and the door.
Kokrokoo! No paper. Ose.
I'm going to do holidays to see every year work.
Hey, that mean I'm Kokrokoo. So some beige, man. Gagu, now you free straight by straight to Qatar. Qatar to say.
Oh, young woman don't be very fine. We just see Professor. One of them is in the one with the two pen as if you have
Kokrokoo, Anope Ghana time 1 o'clock. Yeah, Bobo.
Yeah, Nyame Aduma.
That is saying
it's ahead of Ghana by 3 hours. 4 p.m. Qatar time, 1 p.m. Ghana time, and Ghana means South Korea. Yeah, the Eshiteso. I mean, Boniface is a very cagey encounter because a must win for Ghana. And South Korea for no, they are the best team from Asia.
Yeah.
World Cup started in 1930. Every continent in your team drew medal zone except Africa. And Asia for medal team no Asia Korea.
I
So
see.
they are the best Asian team, apart from Germany, Spain, Argentina, and a few European countries. In terms of World Cup appearances, they are the best. This is their 10th appearance. Ghana, this is our 4th appearance. And it tells you it's a almost solid team. Quite apart from that, almost players are a born Napoli in the Italian Serie A, almost one player, the Minjai. So you'll be able to follow Italian Serie A and Napoli, very solid defender. Then almost Hichan also Wolverhampton, EPL, and almost Song, also Tottenham Hotspur. And then a few other players are one Nyongu, the day you nebo Al Shabab. They have a few players on your quality. And almost sign speed as their weapon.
And go for them Kokrokoo.
Oh, come on, Ganipa.
I see. After this year with Portugal, mood in camp to say.
Oh, Kwame, players, they are very hopeful. Honestly, I'm few say, but for that refereeing by the American, Moroccan-born American, that decision to award that penalty, and between the draw, however, they also reckon say the Korea game is a tough one.
Yeah.
And players in the they are very hopeful. The mood in camp is very good.
How about selection wise? The same team there, Kwana say ending.
Kwame, the philosophy of footballer, say you don't change a winning team. You say, okay, what about a losing team? Which be up consistency.
Yeah.
But Kwame, my opinion, the formation of a boy against Portugal 5-4-1. So have 5 players no a ball in the back. Komi Baba Raman free Makwaman Kameni Beji.
Now, on being the
so, only a 7 before the tournament, me can send me and only a 7. Because even though he had a few occasions of brilliance, the passes maybe boy Makudus Etumina go my. In most cases, not quite on to track it back. And if we're playing an opponent like Korea, speed and weapon, now left back on to track it back. I'm an issue. And who follow on press conference now? I'm coaching one move here, but or say Ghana LV spaces at their back, and so they were exploited. That's what their coach said. And it tells you so no so steady your defense. And to me, my opinion say, but yeah, line up the boy, you know. Could you say Baba Raman free Munaki your men Sabashan and I am coming in because I told the idea and Ghana pass qualify for the World Cup near Benji Baba Raman. And he did your men's boy. And in both legs, he justified himself. Them one was able to her all of a sudden in Yamasa. But we are not to China. I mean, conform weapon your speed. You know, catch will be said, Uno be Bobola or speed gamer. Don't play to suit him. You slow the game to frustrate him. And me my Pinimudi, Kayambo, a traditional 4-4-2. Because even though you're per win, you can 3 back, say you want to throw more men forward. The danger is that Onusinya counter was why she because over 3 back. Yambo a traditional 4 defenders, 4 midfielders, and 2 attackers. My preference be Kudus ni Inaki. When we lose the ball, Kudus or Inaki joins the midfield to support in retrieving the ball. In Saka ball now, then we go back to our 4-4-2 because formation the other ball there's variation when you have the ball and variation when you don't have the ball.
Yeah.
No comment can you slow game, then can take you on the break. And I'm boy a traditional 4-4-2. Now, if you say a bata, and you're going to me afa.
Just in the next 3.5 hours, now I'm going to Ashishasu.
Go here, come to say a month for Ashisha Mujesa, or sequence or Mokwaku Pramaso. Me check, say, Enche, Black Star team to go hotel. Then last time I check here, equipment officer now, no question, JC numbers, no, or dressing room, no, go over that. She said, "Better we do one and then we start here and I'm starting."
I see.
The patient needs to student in the.
You better say, baby, Kokrokoo, that's your pay.
Need that see German, you know.
Dan Kokrokoo, your boy, and I attend in Kano Peace 104.3.
Peace FM. One time for your mind,
Abdi Pambidi. Vida AC Kokrokoo of the Ghana Christian International High School, simply referred to as Christian High in Dodowa. Have a good day, Vida AC Kokrokoo. Thanks for listening.
Peace FM 104.3. Who to meet are
Nana Freddy, I'm who watch it.
Ambassador.
What you saying?
Yepimso.
Yepimso Enterprise.
In South Korea for no. You be pretty proud.
Me baso. Nana Freddy, I'm not me who no. Nana Freddy Machi. Enra mi hono
mundi monno krani nyina yanko yedi
dabi ye no krani yedi mi hono
eno nya no krani
ana na enra we hu mi na mi so me hu a
na emu no krani sen
emu no krani aka si ye hu ye ho
adikro no na emu adenti
emu de na de papa
Kokrokoo so ni ebo wiase ama
ye shia lorry kwan so bebe
mo kire lorry kwan
ye shia lorry kwan so bebe na for indi da medasi
o san ye du show
bruta
no small Japan ye nya juma
ayempo free mu keke ene ye shia e prof.
Yes sir.
Ma fi o mi hu a chemeti na America.
Oh.
Na prof we mu no.
No.
They be a friend prof we he's one of the youngest professors ever. Then no room no.
Yeah.
And a small boy when was not by studio animal or by class. Because the prof assistant why a guy? I a professor guy. It's who prof small boy come now your class your Monday class you was saying no. Prof guy.
Come my film.
Prof my film me too can in America. None in America. Let me see. Hey, prof. Nah.
ha dream. Prof then na the buy.
Then on the bus on the ticket in plane by.
Thank you. And I'm the husband back.
No.
On my left, Yeshianra. Yeshia Lori Kwan. First way woman is saying. On my right, Yakwa America. First way woman.
Just said ne crack is say. Prof, now interestingly, psychology. Some was sports psychology. Ain't football psychology Black Stars, I say psychologists be anka ho. We who list no. But make away because and em say obi ansunu degem because and nyame amwana sende so ekutia peneche say next available flight after Friday near day back.
We can say na engine na esu.
Nipa bebre so hope. But and then me kwa me just ya makopam. Flag wa na kata no.
Na kata no so bo.
Intimation eno ne for Black Stars me bompa yese edi sunsum bi beba. Na
shirt if you American na say kwanche.
Empacho shirt with the kwanche shirt.
Na de ma.
Empacho debi.
So who say
we a branch be a friend of Harmony Trends. Yusuf Mahama. Nidini Yusuf Mahama.
You look like a statesman.
Yen tuni panchini.
Oh man.
Yen tuni panchini.
Papa
Kwanche ya how papa. Prof, 1 p.m. Ghana time, 4 p.m. Qatar time.
Come on, say.
Meet here.
My chair sports psychology for a very long time.
Oh, I see. You've taught sports psychology.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm here me bobo lab to regional level.
Hey.
Yes. Oh yeah. Me bobo and me bo table tennis very well.
Prof multi-dimensional. Prof multi-dimensional.
In fact, table tennis, I still have the table in my house.
Oh, I see.
Yes, my wife plays table tennis with me.
And wow.
Sports manager.
My phone program proper. You go prof if you know a wolf.
Yeah,
baby.
And the baby I call competition of a sort. Yeah, not many Jehopa.
Okay.
Many Jehon for two things. I'm going to say sports exposes you to discipline.
That's a lot.
Obia ope I can see
I can see it, yeah.
I can see, you know. Yeah, na she show it gives you structure. The obviously how training. And there be okra only. And one of the things are very key in sports. Kwame emotions. I think and then said you obviously manage competitive environment. They say you know first time I go competition and if I want to share no say we are underdogs I na how be unu say no dey osana but competition e ko nanim na we hunu say umia how bit me win no now anxiety e kosoro and the baby ya no say Ghana eco competition my baby I've been one of those I na many bre say even psychological personnel I be boy when say it was my time and I'm the sports directorate University of Ghana psychological services competition our legal campus and it's been very helpful.
Wow.
So we have a team on campus boy athletes no come obi to me eco competition na the opponent na we win a lot of medals just seeing so when you assume a senior ever compete no it's enough to set you on edge. Say as soon as you met to me, oh come on. Now every anxiety be rise no a breaky or confidence and or readiness. And maybe two things be in fact before the team left, I had intelligence say now woman need any psychocentric professional be with them.
I see. So
I called Obi. I mean think one of you. Young Chombra. We did everything and wrote say e be here pass ye be pay a psychologist. I mean somebody here we
Yes.
We have institutions that are producing good psychology. I can tell you, my department, the kind of psychological programs are competitive across every place. My students go to other universities around the world and they excel. That's the truth. We are psychology or department, and not only is if you Cape Coast, and so sir, if you do psychology in Cape Coast, University of Ghana, some of the universities are around psychology. I tell you, you're not the best until excel. Until we did write to them, say, you be here psychological services. Come maybe okay. Na maybe okay. No say, this part of our world, you can't professionalism. Yeah, ni enko. Some of the traditional kind of saying rules, we are here medical doctor, even here physical expert, obey training or more, even here be physical education specialist. We don't really pay attention to psychological services. But let's do a little bit of analysis for what just happened a few days ago. I can say Portugal, Ebola.
Yes.
Kwame, apart from say starting with a lot of comments with the game plan, and then I worry say you bought quite antiquarian game plan. Say you say game plan no. I'm coming out here 5-5. First one about 5-5.
Yeah, about 5-3-1.
5-3-1. Now people are worried about it. Now this way you're correct, because essentially what it does to you is that you are just defending. You are not on the offensive. 5-3-2. 5-3-2. You are just defending, and you are not on the offensive. Now game also there. Usually you will defend when you have already achieved something. Be a wash go back I count a few minutes. Now game now ended. Now person opponent maybe take advantage, and then you have to secure your backs and make sure say omunya opportunity to penetrate and score. But not when you are beginning. Maybe I think say now first point and say who say we went into this with a certain amount of fear.
As an issue,
Yes.
Portugal for.
Now, why would you want to defend? Look, offensive game. Actually, say we are confident. Say me too many of us your ball, and I can open up the game. Now, me ne share boot to boot. Who defend the part? Actually, also which that's the first point. Now
Portugal, I'm on better sao.
Oh, Kwame, but so Portugal to me there. So we Ronaldo. We Ronaldo. I'm except we try OT. They are carrying their home.
But Ronaldo only no much too.
Oh, but Kwame, and what the so go no share.
We know crank there. Man City for bear me so your bubble.
But they were Portuguese before they became Man City people.
Before they became Man City. But now coming up, to be honest with you. So if you saw the way they were playing, boys now, at least we came back with 2 goals. But I just want to draw your attention to Kwame. And the change, changes be. Okay. Yeah, changes be.
Kudu Sufrimu, and I did Frimu, and I Jordan by.
And I did Jordan by. Let me use this to explain something in sports psychology. Kwame, in sports psychological science, say if you go into a competitive match, now wabra and sana wudu baby or hesa ubedu noa. The essence say you have struggled to build the effect of motivation. Motivation is one of the key issues in sports psychology. One struggle to build motivation. Now, when motivation is unleashed, you don't disturb it. So we unleash motivation. Now, unleashing is say, finally, we got a goal. Now, sa goal no, can you say, did I? And it's our goal now, it will unleash a certain level of motivation.
Into we should have kept the momentum.
Quick, quickly. Momentum na sorry. Now, Ebasapa, the biggest mistake you will make is to tamper with that design and structure. What's the idea? And what's our man who na a flow kakra because I'm going to share no na a buye kwine ama enthusiasm, motivation, there's a flow, there's confidence. This is Robbie Owa. If you say dealing with the no na a release a new enthusiasm. And at least as a rule of thumb, man hold the next 30 to 1 hour. That is if you can have the time. My plan was that just you should have just allowed them to be on there. But when you are then the part, the why in say some motivation on my struggle to build it. No, what disturbing the structure and what disturbing confidence are at the buy. And to be say what the next 2 to 3 or 5 minutes, maybe less than that. Answer na ye ni free mua yes I think he hasn't even finished exchanging pleasantries. That was very unfortunate. It was very unfortunate. Say on the verge, Nipano ya I unleash certain kind of enthusiasm. Will be here. Crowd say, "Hey, where the mommy uncle?"
No, Asano.
Come here, te say Obia, mami use me na adibi. But me you know. Many e kakra.
Okay.
Na ni maybe o na eso me. But na pese me tackle na guy bi. Ni onim taekwondo.
Those days.
Those days. Oh yeah, no bro. O say yeah no kokwa say can say how do you call it
kokwa na say twede
nti opasa na dia wo dia shining finance say but grano when him how to roll rolling when you nice no from sometimes no fan sanka but send you obesi adoje wo punches na we no obefu ama obo no atofo na yesi wa bro masadi akwaniti akwesbesi ni banyi so de bia no bro na ko yekobo kwa me obeka sauce ball
yeah
ena ejama he me sauce ball kama meko ena oba ho ni say I say usanso ni bo bi enti oba onka ball no ho kra no pese odwene ena oba he say o yen jai na o pese bobi eh o teno na wa wuram ana me say akwa me bono or train me time me me to abomida because just say all the time ko no be you pa
be you sure
and na me nya botre boko no or to ne sa ba ko na me so say mu do say no na me twe no me yi na say na ko me tena no so fa man ye na ba ha me
tim
na me do fu ni wie no na fe confidence bi
so to me about
oh that's any self defense na wie no na me hu say akoy ni wona kwan efe na woni a eka ho a me ne mo ho
obi enya ba
obi hu say oh sa we kwade that's exactly what happens when you unleash confidence say utumi ema de obetumi ayo no epue fru mu a na bribia entumi ensi no kwan a eboama enthusiasm na sa man no wan yes am from so bi oda ohun say ye hu no
because obi abono
ni mu ha na oye ni sa ta kondo we no a ye nim sense and ye bi si achi no wan yes am from so bi that's a similar that happened say wo bre they were struggling at a point I felt say enem keke because pressure was on us just say a flow sir and yet me breaky enya baako. What an incredible opportunity. And don't tamper with the flow. And one mistake by Kwame who say eba first match ni mupa. Kwame, the second one I mean who say ebe mupa a hard no. This issue of whether do we have a sports psychologist? Cry. Any be.
You'll be. My name is your friend Dr. Mfujo. Only Yanko.
Mfujo.
Dr. Mfujo. Only one call Germany. Was it Germany?
2006?
Yeah.
No, I think so.
In fact, if you I've sent Kwame the link. So UT interview now between he and Asamoah, a decision he took and acted on. I dream be a Tony trim or yeah, who juma. Asamoah di who dance here say and no motivating the man share.
Time and number so if you camp on
okay. I don't know when you watch the video now, but yes, right. I'm substantiating your point, but the point is that there's a somebody. I don't know. Minion is so quiet this time.
No, I don't think so. They have what was a choir or so about born and comedy aftermath. Some of the winner banner. I'm say win now. Coach no Kwame. Coach no me did not me one mujidi pa say obi to me Eddie Yako baby. A coach is a leader. A coach is a designer. Kwame. A coach you be or martial talents. Talent no martial no opposite so eba so e mind. Say coach no mate say coach na can be. Say you on the kind there. Gana the voices there. Will be able to meet Biba. Mate says your
grandpa was a coach during a post game press conference. I will be beside the World Cup. It in the one of me. Also, no first preference, a German.
Yeah, but he's a German. Don't forget that.
Well, but you are a coach for Ghana.
You see,
but
Prof, and then I can.
No, make me argument. My
prof, yes.
Okay, Kwame. The point is this: say I'm passé.
Yes.
Coach, no, I can say. Oh well, maybe being fair, I may say, oh shit. Team C na team A and B and B winning. One of the things I be say we are coach of which team. It's not bad to wanting to say meaning say when we the competence as media. But you know one say okay, we are struggling crampo say it bit me a passes stage now got the next level. Such a statement and say can be very demotivating because the end say open so much say me microphone na me titi omo
enya dia on be come ni
enya dia on betumi akọ kan it say oba cultural exams a competition now your parent awade oba na akọ now do ho no one a try say hello Kwame you welcome so do you think Fafa can make Fafa I think that this person can make it. But Obano didn't econo. When say what the name say, obey to me, I hear something. Say when to me and if a crowd, when him say or something, obey to me. Aspiring
in Niso Casasa,
baby. And he said, I'm a person man the benefit of the doubt. Mementi, but my sister say, be an own kind. Numbers will Casadia, I don't think
is at the table.
It's a good thing. Say, obey. You are elevating others above your own team. Now, the attorney said, once you elevate Obi above your own team, I mean, what does it mean? It means that you don't have confidence in your own skills. What the man?
How about it? Say he's being realistic.
No, realism be or come here. Realism be or what? Realism be or what? It destroys flow. You can be real. Memor example. Also. Once I na kanka say bi say kana wu na nsemfo ahi me bo okay but who you know obehunu say enyan nsem bia na yeka
yes
that's exactly what I'm saying and say on ka say obi dey kana wu wo dey gusu anaka obi destroy a lot of your social connections enti do baby a wo dey nyansa to nsem a wo ka ho yeah and it's the same thing, the same principle. Say I want to be real. My team you are good, but the beer I want to be winning, but not when the competition is ongoing. Because when you're a oh, trying for natural must say one kasa skills now they are no. Number one, number two, team nanka say no, you don't believe in your own competences, and they need that. Look, a coach is a big inspirer beyond the fact say we are when I put to the structure in place no we a big inspirer say obi ayade bi wa trip wa follow anyade e say go to penalty go to assign no said your coach currently play and be kasa no ebe kire say the player whether the player can be fielded the next time or not. Saudi Arabia they no look at it player be a potential asset and a liability, and the liability no you will see it when the team is looking forward to secure a goal. Maybe opportunity be a penalty no a boss no why here obefu am akoma be pai akoma say but the next time the same player obehia no to score a goal entino say okasa e hono de ankoyi now come a final point which is and the game no Kwame, these Asians especially Korea Japan so we here ball about Kwame they use speed is the base of ball and a second is scale so when the opponent or this speed echo competition what you need is self-composure and confidence. You don't meet them at the same level say or the speed also the speed over you're confused because speed creates anxiety. Every year when obi echo competition more de meriketuo intentem ehunahuna no say na akoma say just on second ball na no we hear a composure now in sports psychological science no Kwame the above players say or your confidence say I am able entin onunya ball no o slow game no na we break o speed no enti say any Korea for eko ade mu na yes yo amo bo speed enti onya bobuga bi na yebra amo the speed e be destabilize na ade ba akon e African teams so when we are sub-Saharan Africa one of the things I want to say Kwame your problem with anxiety is the biggest challenge we have in this part of the world. Yeah, I can't the way I do your penalties. I can't the way I share team be opponent be composure. You to be cry. Say oh yeah faster. No good members on the team. Ne yenye hu pa abon say ntamane your team you planning in say. You to be anxiety cry. Cry I'm sure it be cry. Now oyam hihyewa ade ba kon say first and composure. Meanwhile, every competition, success now open. Composure is the first thing. Because composure can destroy competence. Competence no skills now ukurano. And it's a when you composure, come and say ukra second.
Yeah.
How do you try there? Now when you're good in using the second one, what happens to you? We try. Tomatoes. Or they are two no. Come and say me ko but two things now a player at that point. One and they say or skill, which is a competence. Two they say or composure. And see, for me and then team no, these are the things. Two things are in here. Omun here composure, omun here a competence in there. I don't doubt my boys at all. They are good. Now I attack the composure. Now me stress coach no. On here kasa so you say I'm padia. Yes no pa. Say I am confident say obo mo no amutumi qualify a call world cup. I mean don't forget to big teams like Egypt aman ko bi o
Debbie
Cote d'Ivoire aman ko bi o you can say me am crofo alata ya
na you free
alata ya fo omo here there's something about Nigerians are like omo da fem kra o kra omo bo mo nyusa mo nyum no mo boss na che say susu no aba enti mama yen rally behind them now also at where they are no they are coach the technical bench ni eka huni nyina no yen say at least yes your go kwam say ya to she too
but you can ye she last one kan ho a nanka ye nya draw
1 point be now where they say there you know well you go kakra
in naki attempt now
oh na Korea dey ebe show mo e bia ye nche bebre but one go be there ye benya say to me manage your composure na e break am paces no the speed no be be mu na Kwame one go there me prediction no ye benya one go
no more manya say
Oh nya he.
Efe na ukasa.
Oh nya he kra.
Ye de benya wango ba mo benya sei. Eno ni asem no.
Enti ehia sports psychologist yesro mo. Next time bia me mom nkosa na saa de no Ghana ya ka ye hododo. Man yen respective professionalism kakra.
Oh.
Na mfa ye anya hwe empra yen.
Listener by now,
I don't think so.
Listener by the minimum. Now, if you are listener by the minimum. Listener by now, psychologist in him. Those your psychologists.
We need them.
Meaning, say, yeah, afterwards, I'm going to be quiet, but listener by now, psychologist in him.
I don't think you have some of yours. Come here, Takasa.
Meaning, some of yours, he's
very good. In fact, the PAU thesis is on that. He's very good on players. Yes, very, very good on players. Oh, and the young crop for near will be so. The other name for Manco. Anya ni beti omo kwame. Anya ni beti.
Ono so onkoje Dallas ni bi woni. Onkoje kakra.
Anya ni beti omo.
Onkoje Dallas kakra no nusu ni bi.
Enti aya mama
ni panso ye dey.
Na ebe boa yi nyina.
Na na Freddy a wo de odi kan start kai kwan sami bem say ya be soon now so. Wo hwe bo na bi de. And who hope.
Me de na me nsuro na me wo gidie pa.
Okay. But you before you and I'm afraid you are there now.
Na me wo gidie pa. Maybe a Black Stars bebo bia na me de mabamumbu. Ya na Ghana for cassette ya na is there bi sa honhom na moayen. Na say prof actually mu kakra na I say ya honke kan se mefa gidie enkuhye den ko yisa kakra bia na ya bobrim sa ne ma na moayen ese onye gidie wo mu complete confidence intino me de ya na minsuru ena metie me ntumi nkan se me sports expert apart from fact say me support Man City ni Kokrokoo no me sports expertise
na wrong teams
na me fa born in chow
also sir
indi
kwame otimi ere
Accra Hearts of Oak and Liverpool and Liverpool phobia and Liverpool you never walk alone
the koye red
David say red and white
as some can say ko the Ghana is red na ne Kokrokoo
monfa na so so kwa brecho ko blue
light blue
light blue ko blue
sky blue
still a blue
sky
blue
and the say me sure complete lay person's understanding of football me dikan as ye nyina ye de gidie tawon achi we as you be any on man fonso ni no nso ye kamo mu na se kwa nti na ye friend team sport no and na ho supporters nti ye se ye boa ne tawon achi ahodin nyina tawon achi ye no afri ho no ye boss how much no me de na me wogidie na initially you know when fitting and na ohwa as ye boko yechi me de na me nsusu ye ne se won ahwe hu se ni dikan se won test nkrofo yi cause won be fa ne se ye de kuku nti yen hye yen preko hwene Brazil for ye kobo friendly no won se ne won ne boy pam won hye we no ya tiada nti e bia na yensusu ye ne se adwen no e bia sa na we num so de beba uye no free ho no ma yen amu no esese ye tie ho asese team no nanse ya na ye tie sa team yo teams na ebo no dodo na won ne won na be 3 4 6 years na chiri e de ensu de emso we de ayu free mu a won aka nyina ye fofofo ndi no ensi teams no akọ katana yen ni so e ba mfie asema nti na esese ye hwese yakodru ho no ye boaboa ye gidie ne bibia no ebekose nti first half ne de me de na ye me hikakra nso na metiase en say ade no pa ma pese hu bibi na ya no abo akonechi nti ye bo say me ka kire mpanifo ame no say me sure say second half ye beti ye honka ampampa so second half by na ne di kan ya won ye ma ya sa broni ni ye ya ekunti aye sa Ronaldo ade no
sa kwa no
ne tan na time papa say sisi na wan sisi na time fiti samre no besi ene match bia ni hono ma ohwa on yamfa VAR anya adwuma tie ba ne sen.
Is it not interesting say Nigeria ni Sunday Olise dey say papa
o say papa
o say Ronaldo penalty no nyan pure genius
until not this Sunday no na utie mpanimfo nimbo mu nyina dodo na ene wonya na hwe broni referee ya obi aboni din Dean
Mike Dean
adenti aboni din se na Samuel Dean almost every match I hear or referee na bibi o cause he stands firm on his decisions blah blah blah
ono ka say penalty
mo na utie no a tembia o kama referee for until for him to now take a decision like this, let's say Utieno now Tina.
Banana, the Obeka spilt milk.
Debbie,
it doesn't change anything.
No, but oh, no, by now, no, as a technical for apart from on the field play. Me say no, as usual, political perspective on this matter. Now, imagine because players need to say yeah, mobile just walk here, protest. But on the field of play, you probably not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
And you know, your partner say yes, BBF free going forward. Azuma Nelson, one of his philosophies, and he said, one or any referee, or boo a trophy on the belt, on Amagen, on Trema referee being on Amagen. And that's how mentality is here to come. Intermediate me would say, but no chrome say, only the day you ne Urabacono, and Kazo man bear 5 minutes more. They now to news wabre, but then Kazia man bear 5 minutes now, go no share, no, send an prof nanka to me run a mukakra. They don't know me who send him first would team through any motivation.
Very much. It's very good.
Or the charisma no issue. Unim say match now and bebo unse ni am say red card o say bi ye ni free mo. Kumasi match na name say na Kumasi. You could tell the difference. Just the motivational, the skills for motivating team, no. You could tell the difference. Until I feel say no first one. Until there should be a plan for that. Also attending once one. But Uraba koni de na mentiase. And na nini ana de ne ba no so na mentiase.
Why Jordan? Tranquilla ma.
Me pesa me de she no so ka ho ne ye she.
That's what carry.
There be na made. Enti no mere ka men ko na ya train kakra ka be 3 minutes na fe ye de na bam. And no crown depending on the score line because we no pass it wrong. Now
Prof will be the video corner or say I think our coach needs to be talked to. The team coach should have confidence in his team's ability. What he said about who will win the World Cup is unfortunate. You are a Ghana coach and you are asked of which team is likely to win, and you mentioned Germany or Brazil. If you observe Amate, who was with him, his facial expressions, you notice he was surprised. All the same, let's encourage the boys to die for Mother Ghana. Abraham Lincoln, ECG. Well,
who's your friend? Abraham Lincoln
of ECG. But I don't know.
I heard near doom the light.
See, I will know Germany.
You know Germany.
And it's out there no buy.
And yet, now what's wrong with some coffee?
And you go find a banasi who way there. And
some seeker
only GD dear Uncle Chris Hilton or someone.
Some when you're seeking, I must say, Mompe.
But there's a name can't.
And I'm not questioning your teachers and I must say, Mompe.
I mean, anyway, the point is that
the
point is that media no crane o kokon. Nani o designer o kunama ahwa man kofo akokon anim no. O say okunya o ye kunya hokwa. Ene amesra anko si form prekope en say hwe. No crane because many amati na metin chen nka me mekọ catch player for no say papa yo kasa ye nhwe ni. Immediately what create a problem am I? Until then the players have to motivate themselves as one ya kasa kire won because who kasa ye nti ehun hia pa obi ne coach ne kasa no mpe kwan bi so me hu kwan obetumi afa so but adwen no background ye ko anim de ebekoyi. But me bo papa ni din Dr. Yao Mfujo. So what about studio hada? But Bob about psychiatry. We saw a psychologist. Now, Osha sa video na me de mane wona.
Yeah.
Men kai match crow. But story no woman no say ohwe se ne anania Michael no. No study players na kakra. Ohwe se ne anania Michael no. Enna or develop a scheme be ma won so won fanya adwuma nhwe ewi ase no won ati no the titru ene sa Asamoah inti video no mu no Asamoah di ho adanse se anamontuo na Dr. Mfujo tuye no ni mfaso ene go bi a otumi hye
and that is what buttresses Osafo Asemi about a psychologist in the team.
Inti Samria coach yakoka sabasa psychologist no krana ebetumi eyi free me ade akoye nim. You need one. Into one for psychologist anko no men te won asida, especially when there's history to prove say eboa, especially in say teams na aka no dodo na e wo sa ne ma ni nyina bi eboa won na esue hunu we usua ball no original ball no enye Ghana for na de ba e kusua no baby eni ya de wom e peja yakoye nim wom nti ye sua ne ma na ne sua ne ye preko maybe sama me hu na eze
Mati mame na say answer me kona na for you so no ye mame ama buzia say me fa fidie so mfa anase kese ema mu be ja ni nyina ni book a watch the bitter sweet pill of politics, the bitter sweet pill of politics Kempinski Hotel last Wednesday 23rd November. Madam Amma Buzia Edi Buki to Jatmo Bie the bitter sweet pill of politics. Mami Amma Buzia say Fanda Sekese and Mubaye Nina Oman and Ado Dankwe Kufuado. I say he joined via Zoom. Vice President Dr. Mahamadou Bawumia Honkafo Samira, former President John Ejekom Kofuor, First Lady Rebecca Akufo-Addo, no Hobi, Professor Nana Jane Opoku Agyemang, Interior Minister Ambrose Derry, National Security Minister Albert Kandapaa, Works and Housing Minister Francis Asenso-Boakye, and mpanyifo nyina ebaya ye mame amabuzia ne krata ne book awatro your friend in the better sweet pill of politics or say odamunyina say. So a very big thank you, stretching out a hand of gratitude to all of you who made it to the launch of the book The Bitter Sweet Pill of Politics by Madam Amma Buzia last Wednesday at Kempinski. She says a very big thank you to all of you. President Akufo-Addo, Vice President Bawumia and your spouse Samira, former President John Ejekom Kofuor, First Lady Rebecca Akufo-Addo, and then, of course, Professor Nana Jane Opoku Agyemang, Interior Minister Ambrose Derry, Security Minister Albert Kandapaa, Works and Housing Minister Francis Asenso-Boakye, and all who were able to make it to the event. And Tiama Buzia says, thank you, God bless you richly. The coach should have answered, my heart tells me Ghana could win. That would be good for me as coach. But my head tells me we have an uphill task. That is the way he should have spoken. And this is from Fire, who sends that. But provoke a great point. If you say communication easy.
Yeah.
So that's what people think. Obi say no, I was saying apart from psychologist, yenya obia otimi chrom how to communicate. Say yebeye interview some also can into when I was saying come to the main players, the coach himself. No, PR near different on your back, but also be coach communication skills, body language. Very important. But Eja, maybe because is here because say say me me peka kra but there are people who can teach these things. Omoba School of Communication Studies in Poa. Dr. Abena nomni omo they can teach you say look okay o body language when name facial expression or general composure or temperament asem be free enuma ba to say nya fire akasisi say you be say coach sorry how na be timi winning World Cup. Because my heart tells me Ghana could win. That would be good news for me as a coach. But my heart tells me we have an uphill task.
Asa?
Wahu. Sebi. Yes, say yes, made Benyan Senior and Amontin. Nana for Ibrahim.
Grandpapa.
Yes.
And Okumse born the last born. Remember, I'm in the last born. Brother, lawyer, Bafo, Usu.
Even the Okumsebo.
Okumsebo, remember me.
Hey,
title, seven boys and one girl.
wow.
You know how hard she had to
Very
be
much,
to
very
control
much.
the 7 boys.
Wow.
Yeah, title, yeah, the man, Okumsebo.
What?
Okumsebo.
That's a serious one.
Yes. It's Okumsebo, the last born. My brother. I love him so much. And then I would that. I'm wishing a happy birthday. My honors Dimitri too. My Dimitri so tonight and honors on the birthday.
Okay.
It's 28th and 29th. With the birthday, I boom. Into also Michael. Yes. Well, say we as I agent. Yes, oh, you bet you, we pay him.
Nana person who you see.
Yeah, be brief. Mike Lewis so a China birthday. Now when you know, Balfour doesn't move without his wife Dion, Dr. Dion Owusu, and also doesn't move without his wife, Effie, Mavis Effie Owusu, into the whole family, and I'm wishing.
Right, Prof, name a panelist, Minia Jefferson, the Abase, or per se, her context ni ye. Question, say, you be coach, say, apart from your team, Ghana, which country do you think can win the World Cup?
Okay.
That was the context. Apart from your team, Ghana, which country do you think can win the World Cup? Just to be fair to the coach. Jefferson, you're right on that point. But then, interestingly, then we can come to Faye's answer, which says, my heart tells me Ghana could win. That would be good for me as a coach. But my head tells me you have an uphill task.
Come and see.
No, Janessa.
Come and that is the point I will make, you know. Other than that, the okay, now if we miss out on the contest, other than ya peja, the okay, Eddie Ababont, the communication is very key.
Okay.
To be up more than harvest this apartment.
And the APN audition. But to be sure, the account say Dr. Prosper Ogum is part of the technical handlers of the team. I know he's a sports psychologist as well. So I think he will help the team in psyching them up. Thank you very much. I don't know if he's a sports psychologist, but on our kind to media to Musa for now. Prosper Ogum, the former Kokrokoo coach. Anyway, Nana Twaso, name Randy Yasu.
Grandpapa.
Ogum, Prosper.
Grandpapa.
Former Kokrokoo coach.
It would be unapologetically nationalistic. Even though there are difficulties, Ghana is always on our hearts. Say, me were JD there, the bottom year win. Now, JD na me wo there, you bottom year win. Oh, you're based on some hardcore principles, Grandpa.
Me too.
Your skill sets as a nation, as players, Grandpa, if she makes a boy is a baller. To me, the boys played excellently. Yes. Why do I say it?
Yes, they did.
They played to the dictates of the coach. And the coach can't the magic. They executed it
Perfect.
the best way they could. Now share what skill set, the energy, confidence of these people. But Grandpa, there's a certain perception in the world which tries to show there. Be before no, you're more aggressive. Another say a boy na you feel because you're red. A bobroni na show man why call. A boy in who there ya call into there's a perception be there. Black players you're more aggressive, and somehow these whites so the way they are able to play and throw themselves on the ground and dive and the tantrums as if the world is coming to an end, What will show you that you're resilient until they use it against us. Grandpa, because he shared this penalty, yeah, what G. Or your perceptual matter. That somehow the black man is a rough man in beer. Yeah, Baba touch a darling boy now. But if you share Mesa J. Koya, we did marvelously well. Analysis, Grandpa, I associate myself. All the players, also all Black Star, and also me were JZ woman. I think they are good players. They are good people. Me were JZ there.
Are you just not being patriotic?
Yeah.
Are you being realistic?
Oh, me, I can't help but love myself and love my people. And this is what we are presented. Even though other ideas of who the team should have been. It has come already. And to me, spend the time crying over the spilled milk. I'm talking about one who says, yeah, no, they had the energy, na your spirit, na your be the time which na what to unlike your coach. I imagine that the man should have been recalled. These people, but I believe that these guys can overcome whatever they go because they play and are not in channel. Oh, share coach, with a look would be like, what the hell is this man talking about? That's how he looked at the man. He said, what the hell is this man talking about? I saw the video, I looked at it, I saw Michelle video, if I'm there, would be no mischievous. And I thought there would be a meme, would be now a voiceover. Then I kept hearing it on different platforms. I'm saying, but if this guy can say this, then this guy, other baby not now. But even though whatever it is, no, I still believe that Ghana, I believe that the Black Star now what they are representing, no, Grandpapa are a very powerful symbols, and now the psychology of football and sports and all this. Why critical, Grandpapa? Grandpa, I mean sports here. American football, basketball, fencing.
So height,
fencing. Fencing your body.
Remember football. Me chow mo.
Coming out there.
Container ball.
My first game.
Ball,
tennis and football.
Sir.
Bourgeois move.
No. Oh.
I say only kakiti.
Tennis.
John McEnroe.
Me tennis and me Bobby.
Oh, I see.
Body I'm say primary school. I'm going to Gino.
Brabebo Bakuno.
David. Some game made many shy Mami.
Brabebo Bakuno.
Oh, we bought tennis by 15, 16 years.
Yeah. Tennis plays a lot of way on
but
come and play golf.
Golf. Made many shy many.
Ubebo so dem.
Oshe na him ba. Obi tale work stake. Sports pulls us together as a people.
Yeah.
Thursday, even though Ghanaians were generally satisfied there. Your boys and they play their hearts out. Now, the intelligence of this Inika William boy.
Inaki Williams. Inaki, not Inika. Oshe Nika, but one friend in Nika.
Inaki Williams.
Yeah.
Grandpa, any football acumen. Ne share me say otete hodina. Up planting and the left leg is slippery. Goalkeeper is so ni name. Ni name goalkeeper ni kuta ni name ni nyina yanya bibia. But the presence of mind, the presence of mind,
try and take that
the acumen, the try, the gallant effort of your boys. Nanka, you could have won it for us in just a few seconds. I should Ronaldo didn't start to need to do
because he knew it was a legal move.
Yes, he saw the intelligence and the high level acumen. Remember by there, carrying forward.
Now, Prof, answer Nana Betwason, Ghana Foni, Omo Nyamisum. The good Almighty God is peeved at the referee who handled our match with Portugal. Therefore, by way of compensation, the Lord is giving Ghana a 1-0 victory over Korea today. Meanwhile, the past week that we have not heard from you on radio, I thought Nano for in your studio has sponsored you for a trip to Qatar. Tell him that he's capable and it's not too late. Francis Brakwa in Kumasi. Nana?
Francis, me that's if grab a pen, my daughter.
But
my colleague political parties, one when you tickets na full packages. Or Qatar no from there. No for your man. I was remember. Also, sports ministry from packages for the different political parties. I'm sure PPP the account. I'm the higher persona no.
Bisemuye.
Bisemu. You see?
Bisemuye.
One answer, man.
And Bisemuye pe Ebiana Achiasem.
Not from the party.
Ebiana Achiasem.
These are some of the things. Intimidate answer.
But once you are capable,
grandpapa is your first class man.
And PPP I mean coming in Chezmbokwa.
Grandpapa. Yeah, no tell your mind na where your mind gun in this guy.
No.
It's your mind gun in this guy so will use. Are you saying that you're not a Ghanaian?
Well, I am.
Ghanaian. You're eligible.
The last time I checked, I was and still am and forever will be.
Yes, it is.
Prof, Yampo.
Hey.
So, no,
financial lady woman, grandpapa.
And Patrami producers, one man pressure.
Budget issue, grandpapa. You're one round.
You're on the top.
And Pacho, what I can do is that I'll be extremely benevolently dictated.
Hey.
Because what's way in 1 minute, I'll do exactly that. And it will be very disrespectful and unfair to you. Until budget continues. Until what a voter screen. What voter screen? Why you come on? One way.
Bombs.
For bombs.
Dissertation. Look at that dissertation. On this budget.
Your Monday school no. My man next week. You're bringing a lot of more.
Prof.
Now, on that, maybe I'm meeting Prof. Fantastic delivery.
I had a wonderful time with
you. Yes, and I made very good notes. Oh, fantastic.
No, notes. What conversation? Grandpa, me 30 minutes to the program.
Professor Bokwin Kasembi. And that is what Nana is doing. Oka say, Oka Bibi, me try a cry, and I'm Sandy Bisa a question. Oka Bibi, or say, or say there's the knowledge economy,
and then there is a political
and the political economy. Nana is speaking from political economy.
But you see, Kwame. Nana, mami kasana mumu baba next week.
Knowledge, you know.
Kwame.
Yes, take haircuts na dissertation.
Antifa dissertation chalky.
Oh, the Obaba next week. Me name's Meba.
Obaba.
Nana release a 12.
Nana me dear.
Sasam na okay no. Okay we no. Not the so I don't answer. Mama is next week go me I change Meba. Enti mama nkasa. I don't understand what you are doing. Sir, you know kind. Enye no kre. Say onye ni say knowledge economy no. Ministry for na anko bisem. So when you be ankasa,
Debbie, he didn't say that.
That's what he said.
No.
Oh man,
what did he say? He said
no. Me bisano. Say enkita hudie has he been consulted? I know static kind. No, sure. And you know as a person.
Exactly.
But or you sure say broadly, you know, abine war in conform rely on ATM. It's not for him as a person. It's okay say ojidi say aban one crofo or no mudi but one can say there's been no consultation and the one can say
enti aden no can say knowledge economy, no, any political economy.
Good.
Abwebra.
Not what they care about. Or say an example is VAT. Or say an example is e-levy.
E-levy, yes.
Or say in the knowledge economy. And the political economy. Enya nkitahudi ebe kone nim about e-levy. Bianca, it isn't what it is today.
But how does he know that?
Oh, sound your watch energy.
I didn't know Kofefi.
He's a researcher.
Oh, but some confidence now. We can't say Ghana for only maybe no more exhibiting. There's a challenge to there. You need to ask. Say, pass, what you fifi mo who say, one misa.
But I don't have 30 minutes at this point.
No, how?
Prof. Una medasi. Una ya psychologist, una ya sober mame. Na mienu we die ejafo nkwa.
Me ye di ntie wo no. Ene won ya wo kasa no en kasa no. Me mom.
Uno left hand side. Uno left.
Dissertation.
Dissertation.
One of the things I can manage on is SSS yema data. Na yema data. You see, say yama data in our decisions, and some of the, and I thought that one of the points I'll make a very fine by being an I gonna say the problem we have, and I gonna most when they say one here in building your budget, you are likely to rely on political parties manifestos, what they plan doing, what they are thinking of doing. And now I ignore the data on the ground. Yeah. Now that's a full professor in finance, and he does a lot of research. And I don't think that he's just talking on top of his head. He's speaking data.
By the way, I hear Cameroon is up by 1 goal. Cameroon is up by 1 goal.
Come.
Matisa Cameroon lead Serbia 1-0. Inti you hope say Ghana
Cameroon
Yes, Nana.
There's an economist in Legon. I hope I got it right. Ousu Edusei. Nami was GTV last week. Obaso. Get him as well and hear whether it's the same perspective.
No problems at all. I actually have
I'll confirm the name for you.
Let me tell you, I have a few of them. Bokping, Professor Babwating, especially on me or head of economics department, University of Ghana, Legon, and Obisa no so kasa na ija ya community inti
I mean, your budget and your question back on Bisa. Some of the things now, you say, you cut now. You to me is CV for example, you to me Sanima. Well, let's make that Sanima. Now, near bet to me a ye. Menka say no, and your badu, but not near bet to me a ye.
Say you trim the head.
I think it's a fair question.
Yeah, near bet to me a ye.
And the head.
What is the impact on the budget?
Nana for you, I mean, say, Nana for you, so mean, I say, Yanko Bobol.
Box some abohotration. FM. What you for? The Hey, Bishane Sakamajan to so. Me miss chances.
May Ghana Black Stars win today. Meeting the Kwame Sefakai. Yamia Dom Yabe Kokrokoo Part 1. This week here, Part 1 to 4. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'll train Yami Paibe Samba. Enam Akwesia Mejo.